We can move on to Division III. Like you mentioned earlier, a little lighter than normal. We started in the Northeast region, Northeast 2 and Northeast 4. Northeast 2, you've got Cardinal Mooney, the 2 seed, and Newton Falls, the 3 seed. And then in Northeast 4, it's Lutheran East, and then pretty much everyone but Triway ran from them. Um, I really don't have anything on Northeast 2. Like you said earlier about Youngstown, that's just a part of a state I'm not too familiar with. Um, anything to talk about besides Lutheran East being the heavy favorite to make it to at least the Elite Eight based on what we're looking at right here?
I mean, I looked at this up and down, and I mean, unless Peyton Aldridge is playing for LeBray somehow, um, man, I know we're talking about the top half of the region, but geez, I can't see anybody sniffing. I mean, it's basketball. It's crazy. I know there's crazy things happen, but I just can't see it, Mike. There's nobody there that is on their level.
The thing about Lutheran East this year is they're very old.
Hmm.
That's been the opposite of their story the rest of the way. They made it to the state title game when everybody was a sophomore. They were still in the playoffs, supposed to play St. V if both teams won the regional semifinal game when they were juniors, and Nehemiah was a senior. Now everybody's a senior. Colin Albert, Sir Hughes, Jalen Knott, BJ Busby, Jay Billingsley, Jared Larry. Um, I don't see a team with that much talent and that much experience getting knocked out early. So we can move on to Northeast 3 and Northeast 1. Northeast 3, a very balanced district. You have the 2 seed Creston Norwayne, 6 seed Columbia, 3 seed Waynedale, 7 seed Fairview, 5th seeded Beechwood, all up in here. And then Northeast 1, you got New Middletown Springfield, who recently beat McDonald, who is unbeaten. So this will be interesting. Still don't think anybody can compete with Lutheran East out of here. But I do think that Northeast 3 should have a lot of competitive games with the type of teams that we see in here and the balance of seeds.
Yeah, you have Norway and Waynedale who are familiar with each other, right? Playing in the same league, and then Columbia Station can really. I mean, they've got some guys that can shoot behind the
They
arc.
were averaging over 100 points a game after their first like 11 or 12. They've slowed down considerably since then, but if you're putting up 100 a night for even half the regular season, that's very impressive.
And then Beechwood, I think, if you're looking at the teams in this district, is playing probably the best schedule of the teams in this district. The team that kind of jumps out at me down in Northeast one is you mentioned New Middletown Springfield. This is a team that or a program, an athletic program that is used to winning. They came within an eyelash of winning the Division 6 state championship this year against Coldwater football. And if you look at that roster, it's almost all the same guys that were performing on the football field. It's an incredible baseball program that they have at New Middletown Springfield. So these are guys that are used to winning. This is a team that nearly took out Richmond Heights 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, in the regional up at Canton. So they will not back down from anybody. There's no doubt about that. These guys, you know, these guys are used to winning. They just beat undefeated McDonald. So I, to be honest with you, New Middletown Springfield, I think, is the team that's going to see Lutheran East in that regional final.
We shall see. But we can move on to Region 10. We've got the Lima District and the Toledo District. Lima District, top seed, Ottawa Glandorf. They're joined by Coldwater, historic football program for Coldwater. And then at the bottom, you've got Wayne Trace and Lima Central Catholic. Lima Central Catholic, another very successful football program. They, if it wasn't for an injury here and there, I think that they might have been the team um, to win the D7 football state title. And then we move over to the Toledo district. Cardinal Stritch, the 1 seed, Archbold 2, um, and Evergreen is the 3 seed. OG team that you expect to see year in and year out. Pair of seniors, Brennan Blevins and Owen Nichols. Saw them take down Toledo St. Francis. So they're a team that I think is going to be tough to beat come March.
Yeah, I agree. OG tripped up here a little bit lately in overtime against Van Wert. But you got Wayne Trace, who is a really good program. They're the only team to beat Antwerp this year in that Green Meadows Conference. LCC, by the way, I agree with you on that D7 state. That they very easily could have beat New Bremen. Um, Lima Bath is an interesting team coming out of the Western Buckeye League. This is a team that's played a lot of young guys the last 2 years, and these guys are getting better. Um, Toledo district is interesting. I mean, I think Archbold and Ottawa Glandorf have probably played 100 times in the tournament. Same with OG and LCC; they've played uh, hundreds of times in the tournament. But I think OG is the definitive favorite. Stritch had a nice win over Toledo Christian, I think, last week. Ottawa Hills got a late start. I don't think this is a great Archbold team. They have a good record. I don't think it's a great Archbold team, but I would be surprised if OG isn't a team that advances to the regional final.
I do agree with that. But we can move over to Central One and the Shelby district. And the two central districts are probably the most stacked in Division III. You look at the first one, which we'll get to later, Harvest Prep and Worthington Christian. But then this one, you've got third seeded Johnstown Monroe, a team that won. They won a district title last year. Return Gavin Foe and Jake Lusk, Bishop Reedy, a team that just seems to have St. Francis de Sales number. Darius Parm, one of the better two-sport athletes. Columbus Afrocentric City League South champions. And then Centerburg at North Union are going to be playing a sectional final game. Whew, this district is no fun. So I know I listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that I think have a good shot to win the district. So if I gave you $10 to pick a team to win it, who are you putting your money on?
Bishop Reedy.
That's who I'm putting it on to.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if you come up with a case for any of those teams, I mean, I wouldn't. It, it wouldn't be shocking if any of those teams that you mentioned were able to get out of there. But I would put my money on Reedy.
Yeah, how many D3 districts? So think about this. D3 districts, North Union, they have a senior who's a high priority D3 in Preston Crabtree, and Zach Vernon, who might end up being a D2 NAIA kid. Centerburg, they have a senior committed to an NAIA program. Afrocentric, they have a senior in Eli Burke who's getting D2 looks. They also have a junior in Dan Wagner who's pretty talented, one of the top sophomores in the state. Bishop Reedy, Darius Parm got looks from both football and basketball. They got another couple guards who I think are going to be playing college football. Johnstown Monroe, Gavin Foe is committed NAIA. Jake Lusk is going to play FBS football. The amount of college talent in this district is startling. But we can move over to the Shelby district, where Colonel Crawford and Willard are the top teams up top. And at the bottom, you've got Collins Western Reserve, led by Luke Rawlinson, and Oak Harbor are the two other teams. Um, I've always liked Western Reserve this year. I saw them first game of the season. They've got Rawlinson and another kid, John Scrata. Both kids, I believe, are averaging over 20 points a game. They're both at like 6'4" and 6'5" about. Um, so that's a team that I think is going to be tough when you get two wings that can score, both seniors. That'll be tough to beat in this district. But do you know much about Colonel Crawford? Because I will be the first to admit that I'm very unfamiliar with what they have.
Well, the interesting story here is you have the brothers coaching against each other, Colonel Crawford and Western Reserve. Um, Crawford got him early in the season by four. I think it was like 43-39. Um, obviously, Western Reserve just had a tough loss at Toledo Christian over the weekend. This is going to be fun. If this is a district final with the two brothers matching up, head coaches at Crawford, Coach Sheldon at Crawford, Coach Sheldon at Western Reserve. This is going to be a fun district final, and Crawford is just a program that just consistently, whether they are D3 or D4, because they bounce back and forth, find a way into the district, find a way into the region. But this year, I think Western Reserve is going to get them the second time around.
We move on to Region 11, Stubbs' favorite region in the entire state. Don't ask him about the D1 regions. Ask him who's coming out of Central 2 between Worthington Christian and Harvest Prep. Also, do not want to disrespect Fredericktown. They've had a great season. And then Southeast 2, Wheelersburg, Eastern Brown are the two teams that look to be on a collision course. We'll start in Central 2. Were you surprised Harvest Prep was given the 2 seed in the Central District and given this opportunity to jump in with Worthington Christian, something they did last year? It's weird how it works in Central. Past 2 years, Jonathan Alder DeSales hop in the same one, Worthington Christian and Harvest Prep hop in the same district, trying to play those Southeast and East District teams.
Yeah. I mean, that's the strategy. They definitely think that it's the easier path, um, and they take their chances in a district final, thinking that the district championship game is going to be more difficult than their regional games. It worked out in Harvest Prep's favor in 2019. They were able to capture the state championship. Um, Harvest Prep is kind of, that they obviously did the same thing as a two, jumped in here with Worthington Christian, which, um, you know what, this year I don't think you were going to be good either way. If you went to that other district, it wasn't. It's obviously a really deep district, and this one is got Worthington Christian in it. And you mentioned Fredericktown. I don't want to dismiss them, but this Harvest Prep team's a little different. A lot of unknown guys on this team. They basically just destroyed the competition in their division of the MSL. Um, but this should be an interesting district final. I do think Worthington Christian is the best team. Um, they have a lot of guys that have been around quite a while and have been on the doorstep of this chance. And I think this year is the year they break it down and get through. And um, the Southeast, this Wheelersburg, JJ Truitt, kind of the only holdover on this team from the Tanner Holden era. They have a really good record, one loss. Eastern Brown has one loss as well. I think it was a 1-point loss to Fairland. And so I think those are your two best teams in that district. So I think that game is one of those games that comes down to the last minute between Berg and Eastern Brown. It could go either way. And the winner of that will get Worthington Christian, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've been saying from the preseason that I thought Worthington Christian was the second best team in D3 in the state. No reason for me to switch off of that opinion. They've got size, experience, a stud in DJ Moore. Yeah, but you talk about Wheelersburg. They've got a trio of seniors: Matthew Miller, Truitt, and Carter McCorkle,
Hmm.
who are all pretty talented. And then Eastern Brown, they have a claim to maybe be the number one seed in the whole Southeast District. Colton Vaughn, one of my favorite under the radar seniors, 6'4", redheaded kid, really knows how to play. Luke Garrett and Trent Hundley, two other kids that can fill it up for Eastern Brown. I don't think they can beat Worthington Christian. But if Eastern Brown's playing Worthington Christian in a regional semifinal, mm, I wouldn't be stunned if that game's competitive for at least 3.5 quarters, if not longer. Um, I'm high on this Eastern Brown team. I will go to bat for them. Um, but we can move over to Southeast One and the East um, district. Southeast One, Proctorville Fairland got the number one seed. Adena is the 4 seed. South Point is the 5 seed. This is interesting because South Point actually beat Fairland the day after brackets were seeded. South Point led by Austin Webb, one of the best seniors in the Southeast region. And Fairland, they return all 5 starters from a team that won 24 games last year. Um, but they've been less consistent than they were last year. Nathan Speed just got his 200th victory for his alma mater. Aiden Porter has really stepped up, become one of the top scorers in Southeast Ohio. And then you look at Adena, they have a bunch of kids from their football program that reached new heights this season in Division Six. They won a playoff game for the first time in school history this year. And a lot of those football kids, Logan Bennett, Preston Sykes, they play basketball too. So this is another school that expects to win. They've won on the football field and they win on the basketball court. They're not going to be intimidated by anybody in this region.
Yeah, Bennett and Sykes have been around for a while for Adena. You mentioned South Point; they had a couple of nice wins this year. Another team in that district, Minford, just knocked off Glenwood New Boston, who has been a really good D4 team down in Southeast Ohio this year. I think even floating at number one in the AP at times this year. So I'll just leave that one untouched. Fairland, is interesting. I think they're somewhere an average of what they were last year and this year. I think maybe they were playing a little over their head last year. You mentioned Aiden Porter, and then everybody's favorite player, Clayton Thomas, who is don't leave him open. Do not leave Clayton Thomas open. He is good from three when you leave him open. Just an interesting, Fairland played Fort Fry. They lost to Fort Fry. They lost to Buckeye Valley. So those aren't, bad losses by any stretch of the imagination. So, and Nathan Speed does a great job at Fairland. He had a great run of talent a couple years ago, a really good senior class. I think it was back in 2018 or 2019. Um, but I still think the Dragons are going to be the team that comes out of here.
And you mentioned the East District, another one that hey, there's so many teams in this this district, man.
Yeah, it's the super district.
Um, at the bottom, you got Tusky Valley uh, and Morgan, Carver Myers, a school leading scorer for Morgan, and then Union Local as well. And then up top, you got Fort Fry, the 1 seed. I've seen the Cadets once this year against Warren. They played them tough. They did beat Fairland. So if those teams both win their districts, they'll be playing a rematch. Harrison Central, Kobe Mitchell, most talented player in the district, one of the most talented players in all of D3. And then also Ridgewood, they're a team that made it to regionals last year. They challenged, um, I believe they had Harvest Prep,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. Or no, they played Fairland. Um, so that's a team as a 3 seed, another football powerhouse, also good on the basketball court, just like Fort Fry as well. Who are you kind of liking in here? Because I am more familiar with some teams than other. Really don't know anything about Tusky Valley, and they're the 2 seed.
Yeah, I was able to watch Ridgewood play the other night against Malvern in the IVC championship game, and Malvern is really good. And we'll talk about them when we get to D4. But Ridgewood was able to beat them. Probably don't have as much basketball talent as Malvern, but their bodies are big and strong. You look at Gabe Tingle. Um, if you've never seen Gabe Tingle play football, you should. Quarterback at Ridgewood.
He was hurt
He
for the regional
Iron.
title game against Ironton. That was when I saw Ridgewood this year, so I was very disappointed, hoping to catch him for his senior year.
Yeah, he'll be a 4-year starter at quarterback. They also have a kid at guard named Dalton Patterson. So their backcourt is 2 juniors, and then their big guy Bradford is a junior as well, another football guy. I think he was all state defensive end. So Ridgewood, with their bodies, they're physical, they get it done on defense. They're going to be a tough out. Harrison Central, I mean, you got to talk about him because Mitchell is capable of getting 30 or 40. Coach Clifford at Harrison has played a really tough schedule this year. They've tried to play anybody and everybody. They're in there with Fort Fry, who they just played last week. Fort Fry came to Harrison, beat them 75-62. I like Fort Fry. Nick Hart, Keaton Fogel. The unique thing about Fort Fry is Fort Fry was a basketball school, and now all of a sudden they've emerged as this football power. And a lot of the guys are duplicates. Nick Hart was a really good football player. So these guys are used to winning. They're not big, but they expose your weaknesses on offense, and they've got guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot. And then Tusky Valley is a team that got a lot of respect at the draw, the 2 seed. I was surprised. Um, and then I also like Union Local. They've got 4 or 5 guys with length. There's nobody 6'8", but they're all 6'2", 6'1", 6'3" with length that know how to pass, know how to shoot, know how to dribble. Just a bunch of guys that know how to play. Um, I, I really like them. And then you mentioned Morgan with Carver Myers. They don't play a whole lot of defense, but they do like to score it. They're familiar with Fort Fry. I think Fort Fry's beat them twice this year. At the end of the day, I think this is Fort Fry or Ridgewood that comes out of here.
Gotcha. Yeah. Just speaking on Fort Fry, Eric Huck has done a great job with that football program. I believe before he came in, they had won like 2 playoff games in their school's history. And I
Yeah,
believe the senior class that just left this year won 9 playoff games in 4 years. Um,
yeah. I
so
don't know. I don't know how much or if you got to watch any of their game with Springfield in the semifinals, but
I
you
wasn't
know,
there, but we had reporters there. So obviously I saw the highlights. They had 2 chances at
I
the
mean,
goal line.
you get stopped on the 1 yard line before half, and then the game winning drive, they get stopped inside the 5 yard line, and then Springfield goes on and takes Coldwater to the wire. So if you're Fort Fry, you got to be thinking we are close, we are getting close, and it's crazy to think that they're having this much success in basketball too again.
Yeah, and Fort Fry has loaded up their football schedule. Don't want to get too off track because 740 football guy, but their schedule next year for football is stacked with they've got some powerhouse from Northwest or like Midwest Ohio. I believe they have a MAC school
St.
coming.
Henry, I think they're playing St. Henry.
That sounds right. So that'll be interesting. Another thing that I did want to note, Adina, one of the potential teams that Worthington Christian could see in a regional title game, they competed with Worthington Christian. I believe they only lost by 7 um, So while everybody wants to be like, oh, Worthington Christian, they're amazing, and they are. I think they're the second best team in the state in D3. They can easily be beaten by a Southeast or East District team. I do not think this is going to be like uh, the like CJ Anthony year where they kind of cruise through the regional, taking down an unbeaten Wheelersburg team pretty handily. So yeah, I do think that both the Southeast and East District has a shot to make it out against Worthington Christian. But we can go to Region 12, the last one. We have Clayton 2 and Vandalia 1. So Clayton 2, Taft is the number one seed up top. Um, and everybody ran from them. Four seeded Miami East is the next highest seeded team here. Um, I have nothing to add on anybody but Taft. I have not seen any of the teams in this district in person. Any team that you like to maybe push? Rayvon Griffith, Mackay Elmore and company.
Yeah, you know, the interesting thing here is, and this looks very similar to Region 9 with Lutheran East. Um, I mean, this looks like a Taft. It should be a Taft regional. Um,
Did we say that
I've
last year though?
Yeah, yeah, and I've heard that Elmore um, may not be playing anymore. I know he's missed the last few games, so that remains to be seen what happens with him coming over from Thurgood. But you know, Rayvon is just a stud. Um, the team, you know, you look at here and you've got some familiar faces. At Vandalia, you have Anna, you got Greenview, Cincinnati Country Day. I just don't see, you know, this Anna team is getting better. They've improved throughout the year in the Shelby County League. They ended up beating Botkins the second time around.
That's a really good basketball conference.
Yeah, and it's you know, the program at Anna is so stable that a lot of the most of these guys were JV guys last year with that senior class that they had that you know won the state football championship as well. But this isn't that team, which is why I you know Springfield Shawnee, and we'll talk about them in a minute, and Preble Shawnee are okay. But I think this is Taft's to lose.
We can go over to Vandalia 2 and Clayton 1. Vandalia 2, Springfield Shawnee. They got the 1 seed and Summit Country Day at the 2 seed. Um, yeah, this Southwest Division 3, I have the least knowledge out of any region in the state. We go over to Clayton 1 um, and Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy. Despite losing Ben Sutherland to transfer, they're the top seed in the bottom half. And then Preble Shawnee, if you don't know Mason Trout, get to know Mason Trout. Um, One of the best freshmen in the state. Saw him in AAU over the summer. Scored, I believe, almost 25 points a game his freshman year. So he's well on his way to being a 2,000 point scorer for Preble Shawnee. And that is an amazing achievement. But for me to just say that basically, if he stays healthy throughout the next 4 years, it's going to happen for him.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out down here to Corey Albertson's alma mater, Cincinnati Country Day. I'm glad they're back um, in the mix of things, getting the 2 seed down there. They did beat CHCA this year in that Miami Valley Conference. But yeah, you mentioned Sutherland. That was a huge blow because this team could have been really good at Division III level. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they were in the regional last year, CHCA. So I'm not as familiar with like Springfield Shawnee and Preble Shawnee. So I can't really say for sure what's going to happen here at the bottom. Um, I just know that eventually one of these teams is probably going to have to run into Taft.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think D3 has the most sort of clear-cut favorites between Worthington Christian, Lutheran East, and Taft. Um, I think that Region 10, the Northwest plus the one Central one, is really the only one without a clear-cut favorite that you kind of expect to be there for the state Final Four. But any last notes about either D2 or D3 before we hop off?
No, I'm just, this is Mike. This is a tough time of the season when you're trying to just play out the string of these last few regular season games, and it's like, hey, we know what the brackets are. Let's just get it going, right?
Yeah, if you're not playing for a conference title game, these last 2 weeks of the season are a drag.
Yes.
As an athlete, there was a situation my senior year where we were the sixth seed in our district. We felt a little disrespected by that. We lost to the three seed in the regular season by like 3 points in overtime. Then we played them after the brackets were drawn, beat them by like 15-20. We played them again in the playoffs, beat them at their place by 15-20. And I'm sure there's a ton of teams in that spot right now. They're like, man, well, we're going to play this team likely in 2 weeks. So who really cares? Because this game, as much as the difference between going 16-6 and 17-5 is nice, it's nothing compared to the difference between making it to the district final and losing in the district semis. So
Right.
yeah, just I hope everybody stays healthy this year. Avoid COVID at all costs. Cases. That's something that during football season I was kind of brainstorming. Outside of Clayton Northmont, was there any football team that you thought had a shot to win a state championship that had to forfeit due to COVID?
No, no, they were the only one with any consideration of, especially because they were about to play a team that they beat, and that's just tough. I mean, that's tough. They had a really good year.
Yeah, no doubt. Couple Big
I
Ten
don't,
commits on that team.
yeah, I don't want to see that happen um, to a bunch of kids, any kids for that matter. And I certainly don't want to see it again in basketball. I just want to get this to the finish line because not having the finish line in 2020 was disheartening.
It was, especially for all the seniors
Yep.
who thought they had a shot because by that point there was 8 teams in divisions 3 and 4,
Yeah.
16 in Division 2, and 9 left in Division 1. And at that point, you can kind of convince yourself maybe we can do it. But yeah, that will wrap it up for our D3 and D2 preview. Stay tuned for D4. I know Stubbs is looking forward to talking
Oh,
about that Northwest region up in D4.
can't wait. Can't wait.
He is licking his chops to talk about some Antwerp basketball. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed and make sure to stay tuned for that.